Jarett, thanks for being on the show. It is exciting to have a subject matter, a 3D printing and a technology subject matter on board. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for hosting me.
It is fun watching your videos. You have a plethora of videos that cover a whole bunch of the industry, and that's what got me excited about getting on here with you. How did you get started in this whole idea?
Well, I was still in school studying business and engineering, and I was traveling in China with a roommate of mine who was Chinese. And his family took me around China for 3 weeks. So we went everywhere, driving all across the country. And one of the places we went was Shanghai, which is close to the Winsun printing facility. I had been interested in 3D printed construction, seeing $10,000 3D printed house on Facebook, something or other like that. I think that was a lot of people's first introduction to 3D printed construction, but Winsun for $30 let me go visit their facility, and I filmed it. That was my first YouTube video. And when I got back to the United States, there was a company printing in New York, close to my parents' house in New Jersey. So I took advantage of the proximity, made another video, and that got the ball rolling to the point where these companies started contacting me and asking for me to film with them, which was awesome. Because it gave me, I guess, access to be able to film all their new developments, new technologies. And since then, they've come such a long way. Now there's just an overwhelming amount of content for me to be able to go film.
I think you're right. As I've seen the 3D printing world, in just this last even 8 or 9 months, as we're coming out of COVID, I think there's a lot of learning that happened during that time where people focused on some great new stuff. I mean, it is. Every year the multiple in that industry changes. Just how fast, how much smarter it's getting. You can really start to see some revolutionary stuff from the printers themselves, the materials they're using, the processes they're doing them by. It's blowing me away.
Yeah.
So as you started going out there, I saw one of your videos, 30 3D printers. So talk to me a little bit about out of those, what you come away with?
Well, that was one of the first videos I made after I graduated college. I knew I was going to do, I had those first videos out already. They were starting to get traction. I think they had like a couple thousand, maybe 10,000 views, something like that. Enough to make me really surprised by how many views it got, but not enough for it to be revenue generating. So I just took the fastest job I could get right out of college, which was just a labor job. And I was ripping up commercial tile, 20,000 square feet of commercial tile, me and one other guy. And it was right when COVID hit. So the contractor wasn't sure how many jobs he was going to get. He didn't get any Sunbelt equipment. He had us doing it with crowbars because he wanted the job to last as long as possible. It was terrible. I did it for a few months and saved up money. I mean, it was terrible, but it was great. I was living with my parents at that time. So I saved up. It was $8,000 was enough for me to have the confidence to take my Jeep and start driving around the country to all these different 3D printed construction companies. The first one I visited was Icon in Texas, knowing they had raised by far the most amount of money and completed the most projects in America. So I went down, tried to contact them, and it was tough. They were open to it, but they were waiting. So I was crashing on my buddy's couch in Austin. He had a startup. It's called Truck Bucks. Now it's Zeke. They're still operating, and they have like 3 trucks now in Austin. And he let me crash on his couch. And once Icon finally 3 months later let me film with them, the next company I visited was 20 Additive Manufacturing in Canada, and I just kept going from there. And for 2 years, I was just bouncing project to project to project, and I didn't even know where I was going to go next. But I would film, and then somebody would contact me. It's like, oh, I guess I'm going to Texas again, New York, California. And then I went to Europe. I saw Cobod. I went to Switzerland, Belgium, Germany, Denmark, France, the Netherlands, and visited as many companies as I could while I was in Europe. Then went to the Middle East, did the same thing there, as many companies as I could there. And now, just a few months ago, I got this studio I'm in, and I'm no longer on the road 100% of the time. It's about 60% of the time at this point.
So, you start off with that, something very interesting, right? You take this leap of faith, right? You get $8,000 in your pocket. Now you're young and you're sleeping couch surfing to make it happen. This is something I try to inspire others to see. Like, look, there's never a perfect time to go, right? You get down to icon. It takes 3 months to get to see their bot, right? And in that 3 months, you've got to make, you still got to, feed yourself and do what you got to do to get by. And the dream comes, the dream goes, the dream comes, the dream goes. During that time, every entrepreneur I've ever met goes through ups and downs in that. What am I doing? Am I nuts? Am I using this genius? Am I nuts? Am I genius? Am I nuts? Right? It's kind of that feeling that goes along with taking the big risk, right?
Yeah, I guess it didn't feel like so much of a risk because it was right when COVID started, basically. So nobody was doing anything special with their lives. Everybody was shut down, waiting. And so for me to take that risk, nobody batted an eye. Nobody was saying like, "Oh, you should just get a normal job. You should do something." Everybody was like, "It's COVID. Anything is good. That you're doing something. That's amazing." So it was easy for me in that situation, I guess. Uh, if anything, I felt like I would have been taking a bigger risk trying to get a regular job and sticking with that because I would have been miserable for the rest of my life.
I think it's right. You're a lot of people that just kind of caught up in a ball during COVID and like, it's COVID, I can't do anything. So others took advantage of it, right? And had this opportunity, this blessing that comes out of this podcast that you're doing it, and really start to look at it and go, all right, during this time, I'm going to hone my skills and I'm going to go try on some stuff. And I really do believe that's the gift of taking this on, like taking the bigger, bolder life. You know, I think you hit it right. The taking a job, okay, I can do that. It's security, right? And I remember the first time I did my first company and started out. Look, of course, I could go work for somebody at Public. I could go work at a grocery store and bag groceries like my friends did. But I started this little lawn mowing service, and I had to go knock on doors and start. Like, taking that risk is scary, but all of a sudden there's something about it that just blows you. There's something exciting about it as well, right? And also exhausting about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of jobs. I've had like probably a dozen jobs. My college had a co-op program, so I had different construction jobs, management. I worked at the Federal Reserve for a while.
Cool.
And I think you said having a job gives you security. I always felt like in insecurity at my job, like I'm not doing the best work that I can be doing right now. If I was in charge of the work that I could be doing and giving myself my tasks, I think I could be achieving more faster, learning more. And so I feel much more secure as the captain of my ship,
I agree more. I couldn't agree
even
more.
though it's just a dinghy at this stage, but we'll see where it goes.
Here, and look, that's the joy of it, right? Because you're in control of it. I used to go to work in a corporate environment, and every week I didn't know if I said the wrong thing to somebody. I was always worried, like I did a great job with my job, but then, did I say the wrong thing to Bob or Betty or Bruce, and did I use the wrong vocabulary, or did I forgot to say thank you, or did I not stop by and get the boss coffee? Who knows whatever it was, but there's always like this sense of like not knowing my future. They can walk in anytime. In fact, I had worked for 6 different companies where I never got fired, but they quit building, right? I was doing development for these different brands, and I'd get that knock on the door and say, hey, we're not building anymore. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's the nature of construction. It's a project-based industry, and once the project's complete, you got to find another one.
Yeah, yeah. And I finally said, we can't take that on. But so that's exciting. Being an entrepreneur that you are, I think it's exciting, and
I
watching
don't
your.
like to call myself an entrepreneur because I'm more of a right now creator. One day I'd like to be an entrepreneur, but I hold so much respect for entrepreneurship that I don't think that the stage I'm in right now, I'm in just a research stage. It's great that I'm able to get cash flow from consulting calls or course sales and different things like that, YouTube ad revenue. But really, this stage of my life, my 20s, is all about learning. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can from the smartest people I can, and we'll see what kind of entrepreneurship I can do in my 30s.
How did you do with getting ad revenue from the projects that you're doing? How did you get all that to come into play?
Yeah, ad revenue is not something that's created at first. I think for everybody making videos, you hit the 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours, and they start paying you 50 cents a day, something like that. And it's like, wow, there's money coming in from this. That's crazy. And I guess you just make more videos and it works. And every creator's different. A lot of people do apparel. That's usually the first next step, but it wasn't for me. I didn't think my audience would be interested in clothes or a hat or something. The first other revenue thing I did was a virtual village. So I had a 360 camera and I would take a 360 digital tour of each printed building I visited. And then for $20 a month, people could access all the digital virtual tours and physically look around 360 degrees, all the different 3D printed buildings. And so, I mean, that never really generated any much revenue. It was like $100 a month, $200 a month. Now it's like 150. I don't promote it very much, so very few people find it. They just like click onto it on my website. But that was one way I tried. And then the next thing was the course, which was really a great thing, how to 3D print a house. Because my audience is so niche, they were watching my content for how to 3D print a house. And I never wanted to make a course because I saw so many YouTubers and it looks so scammy, I guess. Especially when it's like invest in the S&P 500, here's the course, or like, I don't know, but so many people were asking in the comments. So I've created the course, and that was a great thing for generating cash flow. I still sell some courses without having to push it too hard. It's just a link in the description of the videos. And the after that, I got a sponsorship deal, which was a big step up. And so in the future, I think sponsorship deals is probably the way to go.
That's nice. You know, you start to learn from as you go, right? I don't think I could ever figure out my path forward, but I look back, I can see how that got created, right? All the little steps it took, all the different places I've went, all the different things I learned. None of them were linear. I could not tell you today what's going to happen 10 years from now, but I certainly could see why I'm doing today what I'm doing based on what I did the last 5 years, right? I could definitely see the steps I took and how those kind of lined up and gave me the path to get to where I am today.
Yeah, I like to have like one side project every quarter that I think might generate $1,000 a month in revenue. And usually they don't, but it's how I'm experimenting and trying different things. That's how you throw spaghetti at the wall, you see what sticks.
I have a big leadership meeting tomorrow with one of the big company I have, CDO Group, and I swear that leadership body looks at me and goes, "Listen, every time I walk in with another harebrained idea, and but we learn from them, right? We go down the path, we go through this process, and we try on different things in marketing, different things in the business, the different technologies that we bring to the company." But all of them feel a little goofy at first, right? When you bring them, when you walk in and go, look, we're going to go down to one software that runs the entire company. Today we have 12 different software. Tomorrow, meeting is all about going into one software that takes us from the time we meet a customer to the time we close them out and communicate with that database long term. But right now we've got 11 or 12 different softwares that we use that takes it, through estimating, through the, client acquisition, through estimating, through the operations, through daily reports and communication with the clients. All of those softwares are different, and I'm saying, look, it's the worst part about the business. We have all this great technology we do, but it's ultimately what the flaw is in our industry. We collect all this data at the beginning, and then so the idea tomorrow is to talk about, all right, we're going to go from cradle to grave with one source of truth that everybody can use. And, look, it pushes everybody to try something new on when it's already working from each, look, each department's like, I don't want to change my software. I like my software. Our group, it works great. Our guys are just at a point now where we get daily reports out every single day and nobody ever misses one. Or every one of our job site cameras is live and we can watch job sites around the country at any given time. And you want us to change that? And I'm like, yeah, the problem we're having is that all these little segments of data that we don't take is the ultimate problem with the business, is that we keep creating all this great data and we don't take it and we spread it out through the entire industry and then keep it with the building, right? The long term, the real idea is that all the information we gather about a piece of dirt or a piece of project or something that we're working on should stay with that building in a blockchain technology forever. And it should be sourceable and all that kind of stuff that we're doing. So it pushes buttons when we come up with big ideas. It takes a little bit to go there with the group and guide them as they get uncomfortable because you're pushing their button.
Whether it's a blockchain technology or just an Excel spreadsheet, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. But the problem you have is one I'm jealous of, comes from managing people. I don't have to deal with that yet.
You'll get there. Believe me, enjoy where you are now. The the thing about it is when you're by yourself and it's you and you got a team.
Yeah, decision making is great on the fly, but teams are great too because they can tell you when your decisions are crap.
That's an evolution of a man, right? I will tell you that for myself, at first, why I was great at I was great at construction. Like I was really great at it. Like I don't mean to brag or boast or something, but like I knew it intimately. It was something I knew. And when I did it, I knew it. Right. And then you let go of it and you hire really smart people and they know it better than you. And you have to let go of your ego and go, listen to them. And there's a transition of a man going from this kind of, I always say warrior king, this guy who fought all these battles by himself and went out there. Now you have to become more reverent, where you have a team of people that are smarter than you are and taking the company somewhere where and that's the whole reason why I got the podcast. Really, the whole was I had a business development person that came in and said, "Look, if you're going to grow, you can't. You're the bottleneck. You're the guy that's the bottleneck of the company now. You hire all these great people, but you have to make all the decisions with them. It's not very useful to the company. You have to let go of that." And I couldn't see it, and a lot of that had to do with my own man, the part of me as a man that needed some, I needed a little bit of, that ego fed or whatever you may call it, but relevance, right? It really all boils down to being relevant in the world, and you want to feel like you're relevant because look what I've built, and now you have to let go of that. Some of that relevance changed, right? Now I had to step back and let other people do it, and I just noticed that there was a little bit of that feeling, and they said, well, look, why don't you fill that hole with something you really enjoy doing? And that's how the podcast came in. It was like, I love finding really great people that do, finding really intelligent people. I get to interview them. I get to spend time with them. It's uncomfortable, but that's the part I love the most. The part where two men sit together or two people sit together and learn about a topic and talk through it. There's something about that really excites me. And that's why, I've been doing this podcast since for a couple of years now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. So let's get back into 3D printing because I know we went a whole nother way, which I love anyways. I think that's part of a great podcast. Is talk to me a little bit about the 3D printers that you're seeing, and how do you categorize them?
Generally, they're categorized into either a gantry system, which would be on the exterior of the print volume. So imagine pillars, and you can print anywhere inside. Or a robotic arm system, or a centrally oriented radial system that sits on the inside of the print volume and prints around itself. So that's an easy way to separate them. You can also classify them by the material they're using, whether it's a cheaper regular concrete or a 2K material that can do overhangs and do kind of curves going up without any kind of stand support or stuff like that. But there's so many. At this point, there's 312 companies that I'm covering. So
312. Wow. I knew of 100 change. There's 312 of them now.
Not all of them are making their own printers. A lot of them are buying a printer, but there's 312 companies aiming to print concrete or comparable materials.
Wow. And what are the differences between them? Do you see? Is it the gantry system versus the arm system? Are some better with the materials they're using? Are some better with the software they're using to run the machines? The robots, or what's the difference?
Yeah, of course, they all have their specialties. I don't pick any favorites. I'd love to see cost data from a completed project that's fully transparent to back up some of the big claims that they've been making for years. We'll see where it goes. I think when the time comes that they're ready to share that data, it'll be some great content.
For sure, there's no way possible that it's cost effective yet, right? I mean, this is that part where, like we're doing with solar panels
or early flat screens.
Early flat, right, that's right. I mean, for sure, we're in that spot right now. Or you can say that's the joy of how fast we're growing, right? We're changing and growing and getting smarter every single day. And
are you involved in 3D printed construction?
Not yet. We keep looking at where we want to jump in, and we were dying to jump in somewhere, but we just haven't found a project to partner up with somebody or get on one. I keep looking, going, I'll just do one myself, right? I pick a piece of property and just go out there and do. There's some down in Florida that some properties that we own down there. I'm like, can't we just cut a deal with one of these guys and go do an experiment with one of the companies we have on the podcast and have them come on and do some demos down there.
they get a lot of offers. People say, hey, we got some land, you can experiment on our land all you want. They have no interest in those kind of deals. They have opportunities for days.
Well, the problem, the real problem I'm seeing that is getting it's all of the upfront work, right? Because look, once you're printing and once you're going, that doesn't seem like the hardest problem.
That's wrong.
Go ahead. So talk to me.
The printing is a challenge. It's not easy.
All right. So now, talk to me about the entitlement process. It seems like getting the cities to permit and allow this material to be used seems to be the more difficult, convincing to even before you even start the project.
Yeah, permitting's tough. It depends on the municipality. They have to be willing, and even if you get the permit, other things can shut down a project. Like once a permitted project, fire marshal shut it down. They had the slab poured already, it didn't happen. Other projects get the permit, they get the fire marshal approval, and then they can't get home insurance, and you can't get a CO without home insurance. It costs $5 million to start a private home insurance company, so that's pretty restrictive. But yeah, there's a million hurdles. I recently put out a video, the 11 lies about 3D printed construction, and it's one I had been holding off on making for a long time. I didn't want to do it myself, so I got Stefan Mansauer on. He's the guy writing the ISO ASTM codes for 3D printed construction. So me and him hashed out, we went back and forth one myth at a time for 3D printed construction, and we came up with 11 in total, which illuminate the falsehoods that a lot of the marketing departments like to push on people to get views.
Well, I think that they need to do that to get people excited about it. And like everything, like everything that we do, they're as much there right now, all 3D printers are as much kids in a sandbox as they are construction people.
Yeah,
right?
I don't hold it against them whatsoever. They're doing their job and I'm doing mine.
Right. And I think it's completely legit in that they're
10 years ahead of themselves.
Yeah, they're making big, bold statements to inspire people in order to get the momentum to make the movement. It's kind of like Elon Musk, where he makes these big, bold statements, and then the people are back in the office going, "Oh shit, I got to do that," And why we still don't have a Cybertruck out, and may not come out in 23, it may come out in 24, and
yeah, I ordered mine years ago, so I'll get I think I'm ordered number 200,000. That'll be a great day whenever that arrives.
Yeah, same here. I got to get a couple of them, and I was like, well, we'll see. And now I've had to buy a couple of vehicles since then to get through. But I think that's where the industry is, right? People are out there going, look, we've got to automate construction. For sure, there is the boom in housing needs is coming, right?
Yeah, the workforce can't keep up with it.
It can't keep up with it, and we can't. There's not enough houses. I'm down in Florida today, and if you look around here, there are cranes flying all over the place. Like literally, there are within 5 blocks of where I'm at right now. There are 4 massive cranes that are out there building, some couple thousand residential spaces, and that's still not enough, right? Still not enough, right? So we're gonna hit this. We're going to hit this big bubble where we need these houses, this housing, and it feels like we don't have the labor force to get there. All the projects we have going on right now across the country, we could do twice as much because we've got the projects. We just don't have the people, right? We're slowing down because we can't get enough superintendents. We can't get enough when we get to the job sites. Teams that used to have 10 people per, electricians used to show up with 10 guys on a job site, show up with 4 to 6. And they're like, hey, look, we're out there. They're 4 or 6 decent guys, but they're not enough to get to, we can't get the teams like we used to. Everybody's spread thin with the manpower. So, every contractor on the planet is looking at going, hey, look, as soon as I can buy a $500,000 electrician, or a $1.5 million electrician, I'll buy 3 of them.
It's interesting you jump right to the electrician. That's something that's pretty far off from being automated at this stage, it seems. Are the carpenters in short supply?
Carpenters are in short supply. Bricklayers are in short supply. Getting
Florida,
masons right now is really, really tough right now with masons.
Good for me. Maybe not good for everybody, but good for automation in construction.
No, for sure it is. And we've seen some bricklaying robots. We've seen some. look,
It's also good for those people who are working those jobs because they don't have to be afraid that this technology is going to take their jobs away. There's always going to be repair work for the old buildings and people who want to have a hand-built home, just like people want a hand-built Bentley.
well, let's go there. This is a topic I love talking about. Let's get right to it. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job because of a robot. Is the biggest BS conversation that's ever existed.
Yeah.
If our society decided that we were not going to change because someone's going to lose their job,
You're
we'd still,
sacrificing the well-being of others for the well-being of lesser or
well,
fewer
we're,
people.
we're going to say phones used to be answered 555 Chicago, right? And then at one point we answered phones, like with the road, then those people all still have, today we all have, I mean, do you have a landline in your house anymore?
Of course not. I never will. I don't
Right,
even have cable.
right. So none of that, all those people that used to run those jobs have jobs. Now, for sure, people are worried, well, what's going to happen to me? And by the way, it's happening fast with technology and AI. The evolution of the human is going to happen much, much faster. But my real belief is that we're also learning ways, the old ways of training people, the old industrial way of sending people to school for 12 years to learn reading, math, reading, writing, and arithmetic is a nonsensical way of learning, right? We try to teach the masses one way of learning, and as artificial intelligence comes in and will start to really help us support our learning and changing, that evolution of the human will happen in different ways and much, much quicker.
Yeah, if automation in construction gets solved in my lifetime, education will be the next thing to tackle.
It'll be the first thing to tackle, right? As automation in construction is happening, automation in the way that we train people is happening. The future of our game will be, by the way, there'll be no more general contractors. I for sure we've focused out and gone. At some point, AI will design drawings that will be the most elaborate, beautiful buildings using.
I disagree because there's always the liability question, and so there's a portion of the design is on the engineer, the build is on the GC, and someone ultimately will have to take that liability.
It will be. I disagree with you. There's no way in the world.
So who's liable if the machine doesn't work?
So look, who's liable today?
The GC is liable if they didn't build it right. The engineer is liable if they didn't design it right.
No, the insurance company. At the end of the day, there's not someone like you and I are not going to go to jail. Your insurance company's going to pay a fine and pay fees for it. I mean, no one's, unless someone ethically goes out there and does something inappropriate. AI will design the future of the game. Will be, the problem we have today is that our architects are limited by one toolbox.
So who's paying for the insurance? So there's always going to be a GC. Somebody needs to operate the printer, even if it's remote.
Somewhere in there, right? GCs will be boiled down to people with technology. Exactly right. It'll be designed by AI. It may be inspired by a human or an artist, but I even believe at some point AI will be a better artist than we are. They'll be able to play on our emotions and they'll be able to pull from ideas that we can't.
Interestingly enough, Tesla has removed a huge chunk, I think 2/3 of the robots from their Fremont facility in California and reinvested in people. And that's what's enabled them to be the most productive car factory in North America. Obviously, they're still using more robots than anyone else at a higher capacity than anyone else. But at one point, they had too many robots. They need the people.
And that's going to be the ebb and tide of the growth, right? You'll go down a path, and then you'll realize, man, we pushed it too far, right? And then we'll learn. We'll pull it back and go, all right, look, that's just too much.
What's the path to get rid of the GC? I don't understand this.
So it's an easy path, right? If you look at today, the entire GC world is a lie. The whole part about it is a lie. I hear you say you build it for $10. I come in and say I'll do it for $9. Connor, the producer on the show, he'll say he does it for $8. Someone's lying. Either
change order, it's $14. Sorry.
That's right. So the idea that it's the biggest waste in society. If you take a $400,000 building, right? Let's just say we're going to build a subway for $400,000. It takes 5 or 6 contractors to go bid on that project, right? And each of those contractors says there's 20 trades in each one of those ones. For my company, it's cost me about $5,000 to bid a project if we do it really, really well, right? They say it's more like somewhere $5,000 to $10,000 for us to bid it. Each one of those subcontractors spends a couple $1,000 to bid it. Each one of the suppliers that supply those people costs money to do that. Before we even start the project, we've got a couple $100,000 in wasted costs because only one out of the 6 people who bid it, and out of the 20 subs, and each line item we have 3 subs that bid each line item. Before we even bid the project, the amount of waste that happens in the industry, in the world, for a $400,000 job, it's half the cost of the job, right? So think about that. 5 groups of people don't get the job. So they've wasted their time. The amount of waste in the industry, just in that one component, is nonsense.
Yeah.
Now, the way that we do that is because we want the best price. And at the end of the day, there is a price that to be paid. And as artificial intelligence starts to take design, and they're
I see
able
what
to,
you're saying. It becomes more commoditized instead of a labor thing where it's a different price every day of the week.
that's right. Now when you take an AI, when you take artificial intelligence and it's able to design a product, what's great about it is it starts to change the way things happen. As it's designing it, right? It can pull from every part of every, at some point, artificial intelligence will be able to pull technologies and materials from every part of the world, right? It might take, 2x4s from Central America, and it might take metal studs from Pittsburgh, and it may take screws from India, and it'll pull all those together based on timing, availability, and the best cost and the best product for the job, and it'll be able to do that in a second. Today, you and I can't compute that fast. If you and I sit down and try to put out a schedule, I do this every day with people. Every single day I put schedules together, and before they're done, before I'm done with the last second of it, the schedule's already shit. It's literally shit before I even get to the bottom of the schedule, because we're pulling so many lies in the game that now the guy who said he can do it for $8, who said he's gonna have 10 people, shows up with 4 people, and he messes up his schedule because he can't make the schedule. So it ends up happening. All the subs that are behind it are already on thin margins because they bid the crap out of it to get to the job. Their margins are thin, and now that team of people all get messed up because the sub before them couldn't get their work done in agreement, and nobody can communicate fast enough to the rest of them not to blow their day and show up at a job site that's not ready. This happens millions of times across the industry every single day. And artificial intelligence will be able to take the technology to design the product, and as it's designing it, we'll be able to go to the workforce, just like Uber does, and says, all right, Mr. 5-star plumbers, you're a 5-star plumber. You want to maintain that 5-star plumber? Look, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to go to scope, and here we have a project in Boca Raton, Florida, and it's going to be 17 weeks of plumbing work for you. And here's the following items that you're going to need, skills you're going to need to have. And if you have those, go ahead and bid on this project. And they'll get and the 5-star plumbers will get first shot at it, and here's how much they'll get paid. And every day they'll show up at the job site, and every material they need will be exactly this location.
Yeah, I think that will happen. I don't think that's likely to happen in my lifetime.
I would tell you that the
I hope
revolution,
it does.
the revolution is happening. It's not far. Really, what we start to think about what is missing, it's the APIs between so since BIM technologies come into place, where we take the physical world and we can make it on a digital platform, and the digital platform on the physical world. Today, with total stations and all the stuff that we're working on, if you go look at the cool new total stations that Hilti has, or any of the groups out there that have a total station that take your digital plans and your physical environment, and you can drop down and see both, right? I can see my physical world where I'm at, and drop down and overlay the digital world there.
I hate all those buzzwords, because what can any of those do that you can't put in an Excel sheet on the cloud?
The problem with them is they don't have the APIs to communicate with each. So Excel is great, right? The problem with Excel.
What data specifically? Like, let's not talk about buzzwords. Let's talk about functions, like in the dirt.
I got it here. So watch. The problem with Excel is it's all in this one silo, right? What you need to be able to do is take that silo of
In the
data.
cloud, I said.
Oh, here. Okay, so take it in the cloud of. You need the API.
No silo, accessible anywhere to all 8 billion people.
As long here. Excel is a great smart sheets.
Google
Excel,
Sheets, let's say, yeah.
And Google Sheets, look, they're all great platforms.
So what does the metaverse or the blockchain do that those don't do?
Two different ideas.
Give me one example.
Right. So here, the metaverse has you be able to communicate with people in a way where you and I will be here, the world that you're in today. Right.
Are we doing that now?
Here, no, we're almost doing that now. But imagine our interaction. This is on a 2D screen, right? You and I are having a physical, we're not really having a physical interaction. We're limited by a 2D screen that we're looking at. Today, this 2D screen really spells out our interaction. Now imagine being in a world where we feel as close together, where you can touch your desk, I can touch my desk. I was just down in Orlando for a McDonald's convention, and McDonald's is working on the metaverse where you and I will be in a room together, playing video games or talking or doing whatever we're doing. And we can all order McDonald's together, and you'll have it delivered to your house. I'll have it delivered to my house, and we can literally eat it and look at each other eye to eye, not through this 2D experience, which look,
you want that?
Yeah. Think about it. It'll bring people together in a way that look, we're trying to do that now. You and I are trying to create a physical relationship by looking into cameras and staring at it, where we won't have to try to do that anymore. We'll be able to see each other as if we were standing here physically. And that becomes a whole other way of communicating. It's hard to see today, right? But so was Uber when cars were invented. You couldn't imagine Uber when cars were invented. You just couldn't see it. But
I'm really a
today,
results guy. I got to see something in person to believe it. And it can't be conceptual. The whole anything conceptual is so disinteresting to me because that's what all the media is today. Just all conceptual headlines, bullshit. What's real? What's physically here? What's being built? How long is it taking? How much does it cost?
I get your excitement about that, but you got to remember,
Software sucks.
well, and all of it sucks because everybody's working in little silos. Today, if you look at how AI works, right? How does AI work? It takes an idea, right? It says, all right, I'm going to point at this camera. And it takes the idea and goes, all right, first of all, where's the camera? How are you going to point? What's your finger look like? What's the distance? Each component of the point, right, gets dissolved in a little solutions, and those go down to bigger solutions. And as those rise up and the idea gets solved, it rises and joins it to the next one to the point where I can point to a camera, right? Where AI will make a thing that points to the camera. And there are little decisions that get solved at a base level and move up. Well, that's what's happening now in our world. Today, the people in 3D printing are great. Look, they have an idea. I want to be able to print a house. Look, a machine will drive to a place and print a house. And there are there are 302, what do you say, 300, how many companies?
12. The number changes all the time. I'm always erasing the number on my whiteboard, replacing it.
312 companies are out there doing. Now, inside those companies, there are people working on all facets of it, right? Inside of those companies are people that are working on the material selection.
Oh,
right?
that's a different list.
Right. So they're working with groups, whole other groups that are trying to solve materials, right? And they're working on.
I got another list of architects and another list of
That's right.
I don't know what the other one is.
Well, people that are working on the on the software, right? People, how does that software compute? What are the chips that we use to put in the software into the robots? How is it going to communicate back and forth? I mean, at some point, you want to be able to have it self-sustainable, where a machine can drive out to a site, build a project, and leave and go home and be done.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Right. The dream is it can travel around the world and pop up houses as fast as we can get them there. And there'll be lots of people that are solving that today. And that's what's happening now.
I mean, I don't really know much about AI or software development. Do you know software? Do you code?
I don't code at all.
Yeah, we're out of our wheelhouse here, man. Got a lot of really valuable construction experience. I mean, how many square feet did you build last year?
We've done several million last year.
Several million square feet. That's crazy.
If you look at, we're about a little over $100 million worth of construction a year.
And what are the biggest? I mean, for me, if you could 3D print the elevator shaft, that would be huge because that's where the beginning of the building. Every big building is built from the elevator shaft. So, and they're the most expensive too. I mean, that's from the pulleys and actually installing the elevator. But if you could automate just the shaft of the elevator, how would that change your business?
If you could just absolutely the elevator shaft alone, if you could show up and print that, be great, right? Just self-sustain a shaft printing robot. Be great to be able to do that. One that pours the slabs on each floor. Whole nother technology.
What are some other big pain points for you?
Most of our pain points are getting from the time that we've been awarded the project to getting people onto a job site, right? To communicate with those teams in a way that has them set up so that when they show up, they're effective, right? I would say that one of the biggest problems we have today is that we have humans that are taking, they're in the weeds, right? Our project managers are never bored, right? They're working on multiple projects at the same time. And while they're finishing up one project, they're awarded another project. And while they're the hardest part of a project is the end, right? The 500 20-minute jobs that need to get done at the end of a project are the killers for a project manager. At the same time, they need to spend the right amount of time to start up a new project so that they can take so they can better set the next project up to avoid as many of the 500 20-minute jobs that didn't happen on the last one to get solved. And there's the pain point, is that our people are constantly moving from one project to another project. And everything that we learned on one project seems to we get amnesia. And we
Yeah.
show, oftentimes I refer to it as fish in a fish tank. We walk around and you kind of go, oh, look, bubbles. And we walk back around and go, oh, look, bubbles. And that pain point of the repeatable mistake that happens every single time, the same way that we set up. We don't take enough time in the beginning of a job to set it up properly. I often say that if we're, today, I just gave a big lecture on this with our superintendents the other day about having, pre-construction meetings that are 3 and 4 hours long. And they all looked at me like I was an alien. Like, who's got that kind of time?
Yeah. Poor
Listen,
attention span. Will they even be listening?
but the problem is when we don't do that, right? Hour one of every meeting is nonsense. It's everybody, kissing everybody's ass, everybody talking about all the niceties. No one's afraid to say, you're bullshit. I can't make that schedule. My guys aren't going to show up like that every day. That you want me to have 6 guys, and but truth is, I'll have 4 guys, and 3 of them are sober. Right?
That's a lot of sober guys on a construction site.
But so that's, and I don't mean that. Listen, I mean, I think construction people, there's 2 industries in this world I believe are the hardest working ones. And I think that construction is one of them. I think restaurant people are another one of them. They're, this great world is built by very hardworking people.
Yeah,
Right?
construction's the biggest, best industry in the world, and it catches a lot of people that don't have other opportunities, like people who might have felonies or might not be able to get a desk job. They might not be able to work with their minds. They might be really strong though, so they can carry cinder blocks or something. I mean, construction catches a lot of people that would otherwise be getting into a lot of trouble, and it's a great thing for them.
Yeah. So as we get into the idea of, all right, construction it captures a lot of jobs for all kinds of people. And as those jobs change and get more automated, right? Those people that are on there, they worry about, are those people not going to have jobs? And today we know that more than ever, there are plenty of jobs for people to evolve to. It may change, right? Our change is slow, which is good for all of us, right? It keeps the world from getting uneven. And knowing that, it's not going to change overnight, that as robotics come into play, people that were in the physical world, people who, if you go look at companies like Hilti and their new JBot robot, the people that operate that JBot the best are the people who used to do layout the best, right? The guys who physically did the layout work with JBot the robot the best because they understand the components of it, right? With a little bit of training on how to operate the robot, all of a sudden they do a pretty good job of operating a robot for people that used to do physical layout.
Yeah, it's a cool machine. You don't need to move the ladder around or reach high spaces and stuff.
It becomes an easy way for them to make that conversion, right? So the people that, when we worry about having losing those jobs, I think it's one of those ones where, okay, it's justified to think that way.
Yeah, I think we can agree there's no reason to concern about jobs lost to automated construction, at least today. And if that was the problem, then it would be a world where we're living in so much excess that those people don't need to work probably anyway.
Yeah, look, I think we're all somewhere in the future going to be faced with automated workforce in every realm. If humans do it today, our robots and artificial intelligence will do it much, much better later
Yeah, I
on.
mean, the Tesla bot's coming soon.
Yeah, the Tesla bot is, I'm still waiting for my Tesla to be able to go out and do robotaxi all day as promised when I bought the car in 2018. They promised me that at some point I'll make $60,000 a year while I'm working, and my Tesla's out there doing robot pickups and drop offs. I always
Yeah, I'm hoping they do that too, so my Model 3 can pay for my Cybertruck.
That's right. That's exactly right. Right. That's exactly right. And that's we all want, right? So that we can keep evolving to
Getting more Teslas.
Yeah. And listen, they're right. Anybody who has one says the same thing. They love it. I really don't know anybody. Maybe there are a few folks out there who complain about it, but I'm sure they would complain about just about anything.
For me, it saves me thousands of dollars because I drive like 8,000 miles a month.
Thousands of dollars, and convenience, and being able to charge at my home. Now, long trips aren't my favorite.
I actually love the long trips. I was doing the long trips in my Jeep before, and the Jeep would go like 6 hours on the highway because I do like a 24-hour drive. So to stop every 3 hours and take 40 minutes, walk my dog, whatever, get some food. There's always something to keep me busy in that time. And I think it's a much better lifestyle. And the Tesla stations are so much cleaner than gas stations, but now we're kind of outside relatable topics.
Well, let's get back onto that. Let's get back to the road to 3D printers. So, in your journeys and in the 3D printers that you're looking at, what are the ones that stand out with you the most?
Anything that's new, like the ones that stand out the least are the basic boxes, like 4 walls trying to look like a regular house. And they do this to make it comparable, but it's not optimized because they're using the printer to build the most efficient way for humans to build instead of creating a design that optimizes for the way the machine builds. Like, for example, a circular structure has more area compared to the perimeter. So you use less wall to get more square feet inside if it's a round structure. And that's a hack to get more square footage out of your material, whether people want to live in a circular house or not. I mean, people lived in igloos, caves. Why do we live in square houses right now? It's hard to determine, but anything new, like I don't really like to pick favorites. The best houses are the ones that are unique and new, like the Fibonacci house by 20 Additive Manufacturing, House Zero by Icon, the Mensacorte house by Perry in Germany. All three of those are totally different than any other house in the world. And so it's those kinds of projects that excite me and make me eager to film and produce more content.
I think that's awesome, right? The inspiration from the design that gets created. I think it's fun to watch and inspiring to all of us. And I think there's where the future of our game is in having these robots create designs we could not have thought about with bricks and sticks that we were building with before. Jarett, I think it's awesome having you on the show. As your journeys continue to grow and your ideas and things you're seeing, I'd love to show you off and talk about the work you're doing. It's very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I think we could probably structure a conversation a little differently. And I mean, you have crazy experience. I don't get to talk to a lot of guys that have the general contracting experience you do. One day I'll venture outside of automated construction and have other construction stuff on my podcast. So I'll be keeping an eye out for that. And maybe like episode 100 or something. I'm doing like 2 or 3 a week, so that's not too far away.
I anytime you want to go out there, sometimes I find some of the best conversations I've ever had have just meandered down paths, and I get feedback from folks saying that was great. I really enjoyed that. That was something interesting. You should talk more about that. I think they're interesting conversations to have. So great having you on.
Yeah, cool, man. Thank you.
We'll look forward to having you on again. And hey, if you liked listening to our meandering conversation tonight, please make sure that you take a second and like and subscribe. Jarett and I, it means the world to us when we get subscribers, and we're grateful as always. Jarett, if people want to get a hold of you, where's the best place for them to find you?
They can check out my YouTube channel, Jarett Gross, or any of my social media platforms on Instagram or TikTok. Both have over 100,000 followers. Automate Construction at Automate Construction, or my website, automate.construction. Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Awesome. Thanks.